Well, good evening and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered what are the actual differences between USA or the Europe in terms of the continent? Because in Europe we have 27 different countries. Usually they have different languages, like 24 different kind of languages. There are different kind of rules and regulation, but in the US there's only one language which is English, and all these kind of American kind of companies are speaking in English. The rules are very much similar in all the states. So, what are the major differences in these two, and why the U.S. is taking over everything? Like, if you can actually search these days, all the big companies are American, from social media to, let's say, the tech companies, all of them are American. And Europe actually fell behind. So I'm going to actually dive into this kind of topic today and tell you guys what the difference is and why Europe actually fell behind in tech and stop being the land of innovation, because Europe is the place where science and reason and progress were actually born. For centuries, this continent actually shaped how the world thought, built, and lived. For instance, Alan Turing, the father of computer science, and Tim Lee, the man who invented the World Wide Web, they were all European. And companies like Nokia, Siemens, and Ericsson, they once defined the future. But what happened that we no longer look the media and see the name of European countries or actually startups right there? Look around today. When we talk about tech giants, we don't say London or Paris or Berlin. We simply say Silicon Valley of USA or Shenzhen or Seoul. So somehow Europe, the land that invented modernity and all these things, fell behind in the digital age. So what exactly happened? Well, we're going to analyze that based on the evidence that we have, and why did Europe, of all places, lost its spark for innovation? Here's the funny thing: Europe has everything it needs to actually lead world-class universities, brilliant scientists, billions of euros spent every single year on research and development. The problem isn't talent. They have all this kind of talented individuals. They're also getting them from different countries to come into Europe. But the problem is the structure that it is. It's the mindset above all these things. It's the way the system actually works. Or perhaps the way it doesn't lead to actually happen. So let's start with the obvious one, bureaucracy. If you start a company in America, you can launch once the company and reach an entire nation, the whole country, at 350 million people in the US. One language of English, one legal system. You can actually do that. You can launch the product, you can sell out. It's very easy. But in Europe, well, it's very different because, as we mentioned, we have 27 countries that are actually within the Europe kind of continent. And in this Schengen area region, we have 24 different languages. So even if you know English, you're like forced to learn a different language also to actually integrate. A mountain of different rules that are written, but no one really cares about them. But if you want to actually do something, you should be aware of them because they kind of differ from one country to another one. That's where actually everything kind of gets shifted. Imagine you built a great app in France, for instance, but try to sell it in Germany or Spain or even Italy. You have to change your contacts, the taxes, privacy policy, but literally you have to change everything. So it's like reinventing the app again and again. By the time you're done actually filling out these forms, files of paper, your American competitor has already raised money and dominated it. They have launched it, they have scaled it, they have reached the, let's say, right audience, and they are actually on the top of the ladder. But you are stuck behind the rules to follow and sign these forms again and again. The paperwork, the bureaucracy is the worst. That's the difference. The speed is what actually kills the creativity. Because in tech, speed is everything. And then there is the culture around failure. For instance, in the US, if you actually have a startup and it collapses, people say, nice, try again. And what did you learn from the first try? You can learn from your mistakes and try to improve it because there's no company that did it in the first try. But in Europe, the mentality is different. What do they say? They say, oh, you failed. Oh, no. They're not going to try again. So you see, Europeans are more conservative. Investors in Europe don't like risk, they like safety and they like predictability. That's why a lot of tech giants would actually invest in the US. And investors are just like that. So the mindset makes innovation almost impossible in Europe. European startups receive less than half the funding that American startups actually get. Not because their ideas are worse or anything, but only because the system doesn't reward risk. Then we're gonna go on to the more details and say that it's no surprise then the Europe's brightest minds are leaving. Over the last decade alone, nearly 3/4 of STEM graduates are actually choosing to build their careers outside the Europe, mostly in the US or Asia. So you see all these Europeans that have educated, they got their degrees, they're really brilliant, very smart, intelligent people. They're flocking out of Europe because they understand, okay, this is we have the glacial ceiling. If you work in these places, we cannot improve and you have to pay tax. And actually, last couple of months, some of my friends actually immigrated to other countries, and they know it's for their future. So I'm very proud of them to take this risk and keep up the good work. The result is actually quite painful. Europe's startups are desperate for skilled workers. You can see they try to get skilled workers in Germany and all, but the talent pool keeps shrinking. The people who could change Europe are building someone else's future in another country instead of Europe. Why would they try to reinvent the wheel in Europe? The Europe's favorite habit is regulation. And it's really interesting that the US is creative and making innovative kind of solutions, and Europe is just bringing new rules and EU laws to overcomplicate things through regulation. So don't get me wrong, protecting people's privacy and data is very important and it really matters, it's a priority. But Europe has a way of overdoing it. The GDPR was a landmark law and it set global standards for privacy. But for a small startup, it's a nightmare. Just complying with those rules can cost tens of thousands of euros, which really is going to translate to the expenses of a company, which doesn't really make sense. So then came the fines, billions against companies like Meta and Apple. I don't know if you actually heard it, but in Europe, they sued Meta for, let's say, breaking people's privacy and stealing their data. 1.3 billion euro. That was the biggest fine ever. And Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, they didn't have any problem. He just paid 1.3 billion euros. I don't know how these guys make that much money though, because the applications are free, but they're very rich. And there was another time that he was sitting at a table with Donald Trump, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to contribute $600 billion this year to the U.S." 600 billion, like it's like nothing. That's like insane. So there you have it, the difference between the US and Europe. But when rules come before innovation, actually you end up scaring away the very people who could build the next big thing. You can't legislate your way into creativity. Now, to be fair, Europe is trying. In 2022, it launched the European Chip Act, a 43 billion plan to boost semiconductor production. In 2023, also, the Digital Markets Act was introduced to keep big tech from becoming too powerful. And also in 2024, the AI Act became a reality, the first of its kind in the whole world, which is very interesting. Then, these are serious steps that are being taken, but still, can you really regulate your way into innovation? I don't think so. Or do you need to actually build it? And you know what? Despite everything, there is still hope. Look at, for example, other small countries. For instance, Estonia is a tiny country that built a completely digital government. You can now vote, pay taxes, even start a company online in simple minutes. You can just do that. Also, France, quietly building one of the Europe's fastest growing startup scenes. Well, of course, it's yet to come. Also, Netherlands has really good kind of budget for donating to new startups. But companies like these and the Allen show that innovation isn't actually dead in Europe. It's just buried under too many layers of how things are done, like the rules, regulation, and these things. And the rich don't really respect the rules because they are monetizing of breaking the rules. So if Europe can simply just make things simpler and unify it and embrace risk again, it could absolutely lead the next digital evolution. But it's not like doing any of these things because they don't want to do it. They're like, okay, we have a very much simple life for our citizens, and they would live like this. So that's the matrix here. If you want more than that, then Europe is not the right fit for you. Unfortunately, because it's not going to change. It's already like that, and honestly, it's just getting worse day after day. Because let's not forget, Europe has done this before, and it led the actual revolution. It rebuilt peace and democracy after two world wars. But in the 21st century, the age of code, data, and artificial intelligence, Europe faces a hard truth. Is it enough to regulate the future, or do you have to build it yourself? By the way, if you like this video, feel free to like and comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And I'm going to end it with this very much inspirational part. That maybe the next European, let's say, Renaissance won't come from a philosopher or a painter like Michelangelo. Maybe it will come from a coder, from a dreamer, from a risk taker, someone that is maybe even out there trying to do this, maybe someone that's watching this video. Who can tell for sure? Maybe even from you. But we will see what happens in the next generations yet to come. If you enjoyed this story, share it with someone who actually loves tech or history. And remember, innovation isn't about where you're born, it's about how brave you are to build something new. And a lot of big celebrities, they had actually left their home countries. I mean, look at Elon Musk, he used to live in Africa, he went to the US. Also, a lot of other ones. If you read their story, like the CEO of Google, he was Indian, so he immigrated to US. All these things would show resilience at its core. It's about the feeling that you have to change the world. And let me know, guys, what you think. And this is part one. I probably will have the next one, part two, coming up because it's a very interesting topic, and I would like to actually keep it interesting. And if you like this video, probably you will like one of these two videos that pop up here. Feel free to watch them. And until the next one, take care and have a nice day, my friends.